How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to an episode here on Let's Build Twitter. As always, I'm Ethan, or an Encoder, your favorite underqualified senior software engineer. If you guys do want access to the private repository, there's a link in the description down below that'll walk you through exactly how to do that. Now, with that being said, let's go and talk about what we're going to work on today. Today, we're going to go ahead and pick up right where we left off with the last episode, where we were setting up the create message modal here. Last episode, we can go ahead and fetch all the people that we talked to previously. This episode, we want to go ahead and get this search bar working, so we can go ahead and type in here and go ahead and override all these users with any user that we search for. So that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the code, get to work, and try to get this done and styled today. So we're back inside of our create message modal content, kind of where we left off last episode. Before we actually work in here and get this wrapped up to be styled, we need to actually go back into the create message modal itself and wrap this inside of a discovery context that we can go and search for users. So let's go back into our actual modal. So here inside the modal, I'm going to go ahead and make some space here for our discovery, and here we're gonna go ahead and have our discovery context provider. Or did I just call it provider? I might just call it provider. And inside our discovery provider, we're going to go ahead and add in our modal content here, like so. And now we should have access to the discovery provider and the discovery context. So with that being said, let's go back into our modal content now and set up the searching functionality. So now we have a lot of stuff to set up here, and hopefully I don't miss anything because it's going to get a little bit confusing and there's a lot of stuff to do here. So first we're going to say const, and we're going to have our update search s9s search content. We're going to have search for users. We're going to have search result users. We're going to have search content. It's going to be equal to use context. This is going to be our discovery context. And this is going to be as our discovery context type. So we're going to go ahead and use this. And I think the reason that our discovery context works is because we're not trying to sync up data between our different providers. We don't really care if this provider has search result users rather than the other one does. So I think that's why this works versus the other one that we tried setting up didn't work, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll also go ahead and set up a const search active and set search active like so, equal to use state. This will be a boolean, and then this will start out as false. So this is where now we've clicked inside the search box. And then finally set up a const search for messaging users, and this is just so it's not named the same thing. It's equal to e, which is a react dot keyboard event, and this will be on an HTML input element, maybe. There we go, input element. And here it's going to say update search content e, and then this is going to be target dot value, and then we're also going to have search for users, and it's going to be e dot target dot value. Once we get this kind of all set up the way that we want, we're going to come through and update our search for users a little bit to make it a little bit better. Let's also fix up our keyboard event. I don't know how I scuffed that badly, but there we go. So there is kind of like all of our actions and stuff we're going to be doing. So now inside of like our modal search content here on line, it says 24, but it'll be like line 26. We need an SVG that we will set up in a second. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a comment here, and I'll say this is the thin search SVG, which we'll set up in a second. And then we'll also have our input, and this is going to get a little bit crazy. Let's have a class name equal to create, if I can spell create right, message modal dash, and this is going to be search, oh my goodness, and then inputs, and then here type will equal to text. Probably don't need that, it is what it is. Placeholder will equal to search people. We're going to have an on focus, so whenever we click on it to type in, we're just going to go ahead and basically set search active to true, so literally nothing crazy. And then on blur, we're going to do the same thing. we're just going to go ahead and say set search active to false. So if we click on it, it'll be true. If we click off it, it'll be false. And then on change, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're just going to go ahead and call search for messaging, users. Cool. So there we go. There's our little input. And then now this is where things are going to get a little bit confusing. So now instead of our selected users, we're going to have some extra logic. And I hope this is where it's supposed to be. Otherwise, things are going to be really weird and I'm going to have to debug a lot, but this should be good. So here we're going to have message state dot conversations users dot length are less than 1. So have we actually selected any conversation users yet? If we haven't, we're going to have a div with a class name equal to create message modal and then group. And actually this would be modal create group. So basically, do we want to create a new group of people to send messages to? In here, we'll have a div with a class name equal to create message modal. And I just have group icon and then wrapper. I could have called it create group wrapper. And in here, we need a create group SVG that we'll create in a second. And then outside of that wrapper, we'll have an h3 with a class name equal to, and this will be create dash message dash modal dash create group dash text. And then hopefully that's all good. And this will be create dash or create group like so. So there's the first part. Otherwise, we'll have a different div, the class name equal to create, message modal. And this will be selected user list. So basically, who have we selected to message? And that should get rid of that. Right now, we aren't going to do any logic for selecting user. We're just going to try to show the users on the modal itself. So we'll come back to this a little bit later on. So that's the first kind of confusing part. The next one is going to be inside of our conversation users, basically. So now inside conversation users, we are still going to have like this logic inside of a div somewhere. But what we want to actually do is we're going to go ahead and see if we have search content from our slice, and this actually needs to go inside of its own. So this is going to get really confusing really quickly, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible here. We're going to have search content question mark. If that's the case, we'll have div class name equal to create dash message dash modal dash search dash user. So what are our search result users? And then we're going to have another curly brace, I know, search result users dot map through each user. And here we'll go ahead and return, this can be temporary, a div with a user dot nickname, and we're just going to put at here. Like I said, this is basically temporary user dot username. And then if we don't have search content, we're going to go ahead and have a colon of a div class name equal to, and we might actually create message modal conversation users. So yeah, so now basically this is where things get a little bit weird. We're going to go ahead and yoink this div right here out of here. So delete that. This div is going to go right here. And then we need to go ahead and delete this guy, I believe. And this is probably going to break a bunch of things, but I'll try to fix it as we get going here. And let's go ahead and close this div off like so. And then we can copy this guy into here and we'll fix up anything that looks ugly in a second. So now we're going to have the same logic inside here like so. Go ahead and format that. So here, if we are searching for people, we're going to go ahead and display the search result users. If we're not searching for people, we're going to go ahead and display the conversation users. That's why this is pretty confusing, because we had to do a little bit of shuffling and stuff. But theoretically, even though we don't have like the search icon and stuff, we should still be able to go through and view the people that we're searching. There is one thing that I need to change for it to like really work, and that's to like check to see if there's actually search content to do the searching. But we can hop into the front end really quick and just take a look here. So now you can see we have a search bar. Now theoretically, if we search for like Rick. You can see now we have Summer, Rick, Morty, and there's still things like popping up. So this, I guess, is kind of working. So maybe I did this in a previous episode and I don't remember, but that's good to go. Now we can continue working on this. We need a little like search bar icon on the top left here. We need to create group icon. Then we also need to make this look pretty. So let's go back into the code here. So as we normally do, let's go into our Explorer. Let's go into our components, into SVGs, and then let's go ahead and say thin search svg.tsx, and then I'm going to show you guys where to get this as always. So let's hop on to Twitter. Let's import our svg props from our global interfaces. Let's at least get set up first. Export default function, and this is then search svg, and then this is going to have props, which is an svg props. Return. Okay, now let's hop on to Twitter. I'll show you guys where to get this. This shouldn't dox anything. So over on Twitter, if we just go and inspect, we want this little icon here. So let's go and copy this guy. I'm going to go ahead and copy the whole SVG. So right click and copy element. Let's go and paste this guy in. And then I'm going to go and clean this up. This guy, I believe, is a longer one, so it's going to take a second, but I'll be back whenever I have this kind of cleaned up and looking better. All right, so now we need to get rid of this class here because we do not need it. So let's go ahead and highlight the class and delete it. And then let's set up our props. So our height will equal to props.height. Our width will equal to props.width. Whoops, spelled width wrong. Let me go ahead and fix that guy up. There we go. And then we'll have our fill equal to props.color, question mark, props.color. Otherwise, we'll just do #000. That one's good to go. And then let's go and also create the create group SVG. So let's go back into our Explorer, come up here, and this will be create group, maybe svg.tsx, import, and then our svg props. Then let's go and export our default function, export default function, and this will be create group svg, take in our props, which are svg props, return. Let's go back on the Twitter. So for this guy, what we want is we want this little icon. So let's grab this svg, copy the element, and now we can go ahead and get rid of this. Let's paste it in here. Let me go ahead and clean this up really quick. Once again, we want to get rid of this class and the style. We will go ahead and use that color a little bit later on, but we don't need it because I have it written down elsewhere. So let's go ahead and delete this. Our height will equal to props.height, and then our width will equal to props.width. Here inside of our path, we'll go ahead and set up fill equal to, and then this will be props.color. If we have color, it'll be props.color. Otherwise, we'll just do pound. Make sure it's in a string, #000. There we go. So now let's hop back into our content and get these used. So first, let's go ahead and do our thin search SVG. We'll get rid of this comment. We'll go ahead and say thin search SVG. Here we will have a height of 20, have a width equal to 20, and we'll have a color equal to, and we'll have search active question mark. If it is, we'll have #1DA1 F2, which is basically Twitter blue. Otherwise, we'll do pound and then 657786, which is like a gray color. And then let's make sure we actually close this off, otherwise it's going to complain. So now we have our search icon, and we need to come down here to where create group is, and let's go ahead and bring in our create group SVG. This one's a little bit similar or simpler. Create group SVG. Height will be equal, and I believe this one we do like 18. No, we do 20 again. Never mind. And width is equal to 20. I don't know what I'm talking about, I guess. And then here our color is equal to RGB. Like I said, this one we just yoinked the color 29155240. I believe this is just the RGB for Twitter blue, and we forgot to close it again. So once again, that kind of sets that up. And I think that we already fixed, no, we didn't fix the discovery context. I do want to go ahead and fix that first before we do anything crazy with the CSS, because CSS is going to take some time. So let's just go ahead and see that these icons and everything are here like they're supposed to be. Then we'll hop into the discovery context to kind of fix up the searching functionality there, and then we will wrap it up with CSS. So you can see we have a little search icon, we have our create group. This will go ahead and have a hover eventually, and it'll be good to go. So let's hop back into discovery context, fix that up really quick, and then we'll wrap up with making this look pretty. So basically all I'm going to do is inside of this search for users, we're just going to go ahead and add an if here. So if our search, content is not equal to an empty string, then we're going to go ahead and do this logic. Let's go ahead and grab all of this stuff. So it's going to go ahead and put that in there. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and say set search result users to an empty string. And the reason why I want to do this is because it was still searching whenever I didn't want it to. I don't remember if it was specifically in here or somewhere else, but this should make it look a lot better and act a lot nicer whenever we aren't actually searching for users, whenever there's no content. With that being said, now we can go ahead and do the CSS, which is quite a bit, but honestly, it's not as bad as I was thinking. And hopefully I spelled everything right. That's going to be the bane of my existence. So let's go into the create modal content or create message modal content CSS and get to work here. So we'll start out with a create dash message modal content. So here we're going to go ahead and set the height to 600 px. It's just going to be a set height. Obviously we'll just set the width to 100% of our modal. Well, our dot create dash message dash modal content search. I guess we don't have content search, we just have a modal search. Okay, here width will be 100%. We're going to span the entire area. We are going to have a height of 42 px because this is about what Twitter uses. We'll have padding on the left of about 16 px to offset a little bit. We're going to have a display flex. We will have a justify content, and this will be flex start, align items in the center, and we'll have a gap, maybe of about 16 px, and we'll have a border on the bottom of this guy of 1 px solid, and this is going to be pound E1, E8, and then ED. This is like our light gray color. That's good to go. Then we'll have our actual create message modal search inputs. Here we'll have width 80%. I'm sorry. We're going to have height at 40 px, just a little bit smaller than the box it's being contained in. Padding at 12 px all around. We don't want any outline. We don't want any border. So border none. If I could type, that'd be cool. Font size inside will be about 16 px. And we'll have a font weight on the inside of about 400. So that kind of sets that guy up. Now let's set up the next kind of box we have. This is a create dash message modal dash, and this is going to be our scroll box. So this is specifically where we're going to have scrolling input, or not input, but like scrolling area. So we're going to set the height of this one to 558 px. This is kind of the area that's left over from after the search bar. Width will be 100%, obviously, and then we have overflow dash y will be equal to scroll, because we want to be able to scroll. If it overflows, we don't want it to just be really long, basically. We'll have create message modal dash selected dash users. Here, width will be 100%. The height will be 65 px. And let me make sure I spell all of the stuff properly. Then we'll have a display of flex, justify content, once again will be flex start. We will align items in the center, and we will border dash bottom the same 1 px solid, and this will be pound E1, E8, ED. That's good to go. Next up we have dot create dash message modal create group. Here we'll have width equal to 100%. We'll have height equal to 65 px once again. We'll have padding of 16 px, 12px. That one I stole from Twitter. Display will be flex, maybe. We'll have justify content, flex dash start, align items in the center, and we'll have a gap of about 12px on this guy. We'll have a dot create dash message modal group, and this should be create group. Let me fix that. Hover. Here our background dash color will be RGBA 0.1, so like a light gray, and cursor will be pointer. Then we'll have our icon wrapper. We're getting closer to being done here, so bear with me. Create message modal dash group dash icon wrapper. So here we'll have width of 34px. We'll have a height of 34px. We're gonna have a small border on this, which is interesting, of 1px solid pound 657786. I feel like at Twitter they don't really have an idea of what they actually want to do. They just kind of do random things all over the place, but it is what it is. Border radius is going to be 100%. We have a display, flex, and we'll justify content in the center and align, dash items in the center. And then we have like one more here, dot create dash message modal create, and I guess I just called this group group icon wrapper. I feel like I'm missing something here, or maybe I just didn't actually style it, and I don't know how I would have forgotten that, so I might have to do something here really quick. Cursor pointer, background color RGBA, and this is going to be 29-155-240, and we do like 0.2. And I think I forgot to actually style the text inside this somehow, so I need to grab the font size and color of that really quick. But let's just see what this looks like, and if I did, I will go ahead and do that really quickly. Now we have this. Forgot to put hover on that one, and this guy isn't quite working properly, so I need to look at what's going on with this guy, and this hover is not working either. So let's look at that, and then the create group definitely needs to be fixed. So we need to add the hover here. We have an issue with our search. So let's see if I spelled something wrong here. So let's go back into the component itself. Maybe I'll copy this as well. So our search, it looks like I might have spelled, yep, it should be content search. I can go ahead and fix that really quick. So this will be modal content dash search, and let's see if that worked. The rest of these didn't have this, so maybe I didn't need to put that, or maybe I need to go through and update all these, but it is what it is. There we go. That looks better. We click on it, you can see that it turns blue. Now obviously this create group, I need to look and see what's going on, so give me 1 second here. So it looks like we want font size 15. It's just gonna be Twitter blue, and we'll go ahead and get rid of all padding and margin. So let's hop back in there, and I forgot what I called this, so let's go back in and grab the name. So here we want the create message modal group text. So let's go ahead and grab this. Let's go back to the CSS. So here we'll put it, I guess, just here. It doesn't really matter where I put it. So dot paste that in. So I'm gonna go ahead and put margin 0 and padding 0. And then we'll have our font dash size of 15px, which 15 always seems small, so we might change it. And then color is Twitter blue. So let's go into our app. I'm going to copy it. Inside of our app, we have blue here. Let's go and copy this because I'm lazy. Let's go back in there. Let's go and paste this guy. And then I'm going to assume that the font dash weight is a little bit heavier as well. I'm going to say 800 and just see what it looks like. But I think this should basically wrap up what I wanted to work on today. So let's go ahead and take a peek here. There we go. That looks pretty good. It might even be thicker. I'm not sure, but that size does actually look good for once. Now we can actually search for people like Rick, for example, or Summer, so on and so forth, or we can see all of our conversations that we have. So next episode, we'll probably either make so we can click on create group because this pops up a new modal. So I might hold off on that or we'll probably be able to make it so that we can click on these cards and it starts listing the users here. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. So if you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Everything helps out here with the YouTube algorithm. I also really appreciate it. And if you guys do want to go ahead and see where we start from absolute scratch to get to the point now, there should be a playlist floating around somewhere either in the description or somewhere else that has all the videos inside of it. As always guys, this has been Ethan Uncoder. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.